This photo shoot is different than others that I've done in the past because this one we're focusing on a very specific technique that's creating artificial lighting.
We wanted to shoot a really high-octane action sport to show the capabilities of this new strobe from Elinchrom. In those discussions, we came to whitewater kayaking pretty quickly, and in particular, I wanted to shoot a big waterfall. On their end, Red Bull came back and said, we've got the perfect athlete. This guy, Rafa Ortiz, he's the, best kayaker in the world for big waterfalls, and so we were set.
So I first got this call from Michael Clark, and I was really stoked because I know, Michael Clark's an awesome photographer, and right off the bat, I was really fired up about being part of this shoot.
We had the best kayaker on the planet for what we were shooting, and we went about choosing a waterfall.
I first mentioned Spirit Falls just because it's a location where, we could run it a couple of times. It's absolutely photogenic. It's one of the most beautiful places I know in the world.
Normally when shooting whitewater kayaking, you would use, really high frame rate and you'd blast away at 8 to 12 frames per second so you captured all the different aspects of the action. The athletes were maybe even a little concerned that we were shooting one shot every time they dropped a waterfall.
If I miss my line, if I don't make it far out enough, and if I don't get a good angle in my boat, it's also going to ruin one of the very few runs that we have. It makes it especially challenging for me as well as an athlete.
In order to reach those shutter speeds, I used the high sync flash heads with the ELB 1200 so that I could shoot at 2500th of a second or 4000th of a second and knock down the ambient light so that the strobes overpowered daylight, because it does create a really unique look. It creates almost a hyper-real action image that people just have to stop and look at.
Spirit Falls is a 30-foot waterfall that has big challenges because it has very dangerous pockets on either side of it. But the hardest part for me is getting far out without landing too flat. A lot of people have broken their backs in Spirit Falls, so every time I come into it, that's in the back of my mind.
This year was the biggest runoff in decades. They had more water than they've had in a long time because of the huge amount of snow the Pacific Northwest has gotten this past winter. Rafa could definitely understand the concept behind this, and he fully got on board.
We kind of found this really cool possibility using Michael's incredible climbing skills, using ropes, using all this hardware, combined with my knowledge of river, rappelling down right next to the veil of the waterfall. This is actually a pretty dangerous move, just being able to get down there is something that is not often done. And just by chance, we were able to get around behind the waterfall.
Yeah, man, yeah!
Rafa was game for anything. He worked so hard on this shoot to make it happen. And he gave us, as many drops over Spirit Falls as we wanted, even though I know it was taking a toll on him physically.
It's a pretty interesting combination, between photography skills and kayaking skills, and it's really cool, and it doesn't often happen putting together those two things in one spot, but I think that's when you can really create magic.
So, all this effort of driving there, bringing all this gear, using these flashes really allowed us to create images that are vastly different than what you normally see in the kayaking world. When I showed the images on the back of the cameras to the athletes, they were blown away at what we were actually capturing.
My first feeling looking at these epic whitewater images with, completely different artificial lighting it just blew my mind.